Hey, thank you for coming back to discuss health tips for your family. So with my kids going back to school, I want to go over 2 air purifying solutions and my observations for each. So let's start with the fact that I never wanted to own an air purifier, as I do find myself skeptical on how effective they are. My family does suffer from seasonal allergies, but never to the point where we felt the need for an air purifier. However, with my kids going back to school, we do see value in filtering air since we don't plan on wearing masks at home, even if one of the kids gets sick. So today, I'll be reviewing 2 different solutions that I think may be helpful. So the first is a standard air purifier. My only criteria here is for HEPA filtration and a MERV 13 rating. If it happens to have our activated charcoal in the filter, which I found out later is great for off gases, which are gases from chemicals, that's great. On the other hand, if you're not sure if you need an air purifier, I discovered a cool little DIY hack that uses a standard box fan. You just attach a MERV 13 filter to it, and voila, you have something that can purify and take out particulates from the air, though you have to remember that it can't get off gases. One thing you might be wondering is, what does an air purifier do actually? So air purifiers are meant to remove matter or particulates from the air. These are things that may invade or inflame your lungs, pollen being one really obvious example of this. This will inflame your nose and your sinus tissues, for example. Another reason you might want to filter air is for off gases, such as formaldehyde, bleach, and aerosols, which are all really common household chemicals that I'm sure you have in a cabinet somewhere. So you know the why of air filters, but let's figure out the does this actually work part of it. Something that has really helped me understand air filters better is an air quality meter. It's not something I think you need on a day-to-day basis, but for this particular experiment, I bought one to just kind of run you through particulates and off gases. When you're looking at air quality, most sensors look for 3 things: particulates, VOCs, and HCHO. Particulates are microscopic particles of solid or liquid. Need I say more there? VOCs are the off gases that I mentioned earlier. All chemicals contain VOCs, but what surprised me was how damaging things like bleach, body spray, and even deodorizers are. They can cause migraines, asthma attacks, and they can even affect undeveloped lungs for babies because they contain things like formaldehyde. So, which leads us to the final measurement, HCHO. HCHO is actually a harmful carcinogen because it is more commonly known as formaldehyde. I didn't know this at first, but formaldehyde is found in everything. So laminate, MDF tables, paper, even dishwashing liquid can contain formaldehyde. Why is it everywhere? Because it's a preservative. So it's very useful to make our modern world work. So keeping these things in mind, those were some of the things I considered while testing these air purifying solutions. So I found a number of things that were really interesting to me, at least, which I wanted to share with you. So the first and foremost, cross-venting is by far the best way to get particulates out of the air. The best part is it's free, but you'll have to use a little bit of brain power there just to figure out how to get a good breeze to blow through your house. Another thing that you need to keep in mind is air filters will filter out particulates, but they won't filter out off gases. It's also going to make everything less dusty, and it actually improves everybody's allergy symptoms, especially indoors. Another thing is it's much cheaper and more efficient than trying to use a MERV 13 filter with a central air system. And a nice benefit is it looks nice and the kids hardly ever notice it, which means they hardly ever play with it, and there's no chance of actually them breaking it. What I didn't like though is the fact that they're very costly. During the height of the pandemic, it ended up costing us $180 per air purifier, and times that by 2, 3, 4, depending on how many rooms you have in your house, and that adds up pretty quick. Personally, we had to buy 3 just to cover our room, the kids' room, as well as a common area. Now, with a DIY filter, what I liked is it's very cheap. If you have a box fan laying around, all you need is a MERV 13 filter and a bit of masking tape, and you could be up and running for as little as $10. Otherwise, it'll cost you an additional $20 to get the box fan. So if you are on a budget, you could equip 3 rooms for about $120 per year, and that's a sixth of the price that I'm paying for with my air purifiers. And it also gets particulates out of the air very quickly because of the airflow and the fact that it's pulling air through the room non-stop. So there are a few things to keep in mind though when going with a DIY filter. According to my tests, it captured 90% of the particulates, so it's still not as good as a purpose-built solution. Another thing to keep in mind is just a MERV 13 filter can't handle off gases. So if chemicals are a concern to you, you could try spending a little more to buy activated charcoal and spreading it across the filter, but it's going to get really messy and it's quite a bit of work, and each time you need to do it, you need to replace the filter and just clean up the entire mess that you made. Another bad thing about it is box fans are loud. If you've ever owned one, you know that there's a bit of a roar, and if you're ever trying to use the phone or if you're trying to have a conversation, it's not a great solution for that. It's also very unstable. So I put mine on a box shelf and it hopped off the shelf multiple times when I left the room. It's kind of dangerous, so I wouldn't leave it unattended or with little kids around. It's also really unsightly. Unless you really take the time to get the tape on straight, it looks awkward, unkempt, and it really doesn't look nice at all. So that's it for the air filters, but there are a few other things I want to share. So first and foremost, please vent your house out. It's the best way to remove formaldehyde and off gases, but just know that it can introduce some particulates like dust and pollen. By far though, it's the best way to get everything out of your house, whatever smell you have. So opening a window and cross-venting even removed gases 70% faster than my air purifier alone. So you don't really have to spend money there. Another thing to keep in mind is MERV 13 filters are not good to use with the HVAC. You can do it, but you'll have to replace the filter more often. It's not efficient because there's only one filter for the entire house, and you could potentially break your HVAC system by overworking it since it has to work harder to move the cooled air through your house. Filtering your air with HVAC is a side benefit. Central air is made to cool and warm your house. It's not made to filter the air in your house. Air purifiers are also good for removing the smell from when you cook or for when the kids act like little kids, run all over the place, and get dirty at times. The air purifier is really great at pulling out that normal household stink. So another thing I can't emphasize enough is the fact that they really help with allergies. So cedar fever is a huge thing in Texas, and the Santa Ana winds aren't anything to scoff at either. So if you have a lot of pollen kicking up because of the flowers or the trees in your area, an air filter can be amazing. So after running these tests, I would only do the DIY air filter if air purifiers become expensive again. For the last year or so, they have been coming in and out of stock, but I think they're a little easier to get right now. But say this winter, if they become very popular again and they're hard to find, this DIY hack is perfectly serviceable. Another reason is if you happen to have a box fan lying around, it's very easy to get a 20 by 20 filter and try it out. You'll be able to see if it works for you in a matter of days, and you can see the benefits firsthand. So something to keep in mind is everyone is allergic to different things. I'm allergic to oak, my wife is allergic to grass. We all react differently to things. So this is a great and cheap way to see if air filters can be helpful to your home. Having said that, if you do have kids going back to school right now, I don't think a box fan will be enough. In my opinion, you'll want to invest in an air purifier to pull things out of the air. I hope this video has been helpful. If you do have questions, I work closely with 2 doctors who created a great immunity supplement and can help address any questions you may have about inflammation, allergies, or just little nutritional tips that you might want. And if you have a chance, please like, comment, and subscribe.